it's live. Okay, I think we have the broadcasting, and another thing is, of course, a local recording. So we will have this backup as well. Okay. It looks like everything is great and working. And hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. It is called Kiss the Frog, and of course the K.I.S.S here stands for Keep It Simple. That's kind of a pun that we try to drive today. And what we're going to try and do is build a complete pipeline, complete continuous integration delivery pipeline from Git to Kubernetes in under 30 minutes. Today with me, I have a very special guest. And okay, let's see here. This is Ray Tsang. He's developer advocate with Google. Ray.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for attending. I'm a developer advocate and glad to be able to help out here to show how to deploy things into Kubernetes as well.
Right, and he's at Saturnism on Twitter. Super entertaining and knowledgeable guy. Don't forget to follow him. I will remind you on every slide because every slide will have his Twitter handle. This is me. My name is Baruch Sadogurski. I'm developer advocate with JFrog at JBaruch on Twitter. And today we will, together with Ray, we were going to try and beat this guy. I guess not this one, because this is just a random pizza dude stock image, but a real pizza delivery service. And we'll see who will win. So the thing that is going to happen is the end goal is a Spring Boot web application running in Kubernetes cluster on Google Cloud Platform. We will do it quick and dirty because we only have 30 minutes. Not really. We actually will do it properly. We will build a pipeline that will have full control and transparency. We will control the dependencies for Java and for Docker in Artifactory. We will deploy artifacts, both Java and Docker, to Artifactory. We will scan whatever we are doing for security vulnerabilities and license violations. That's obviously also important. We will show you how to manage secrets properly, both for JFrog tools and for Kubernetes and Google Cloud Platform. And we will show you how to do rolling updates with Kubernetes using automated CI/CD. Now, the whole idea is that we will try to beat the pizza guy, as I mentioned. We're going to actually order some pizzas, and then we will start our demo, and we will see who will be done last. First will be us, me and Ray, that will set up all the pipeline, or the pizza delivery that will deliver the pizza here to our office. It's all live, no gimmicks. Well, it's all one big gimmick, but except of that, we will order pizza soon. Not yet. We will order pizza soon, so it will be good sports, and we will do that. So before, just a very, very high level overview of what we're going to do. Our build is going to have three main parts. We will build a Java project and we'll create some jar files. We then, one jar file. We will then, of course, obviously store it in Artifactory with build info, with all the information about the build. Then we will wrap it in a Docker image. We will containerize it, should I say. Again, control all the dependencies from Artifactory, deploy this Docker image to Artifactory as well with all the metadata. And then we will have a Kubernetes build that will take this Docker image and deploy it as a Kubernetes service into Google Cloud Platform, into Google Kubernetes Engine. Ray, so far so good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Okay, so let's try and do this thing. Irene here is going to help me order pizza, and let me stop sharing for a second so you will actually see the camera and you'll be able to see that we are not cheating at all. So here we go. Right, Irene is going to click on submit the order now, and here we go. Place your order, and we are on. Okay, all right, Ray, let's do it. So what we are going to do is sharing my screen. Okay, we don't need the slides now. Instead, we need my browser. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen because I still didn't do that. Share screen. I need this screen. Okay, I hope you see my GitHub now, right?
Yep.
And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new repository. I hope it won't create it. Yeah. So we have an organization for me and Ray because we are going to both use it, and it's called K.I.S.S the Frog. Inside this organization, K.I.S.S the Frog. Last thing we know, oh, here we go. And the repository name, we'll call it demo, okay? It will be consistent with the name of the code that we're going to do. It's going to be public. I don't need to do anything else here. And now let's get the code. So we're not going to write the code. Instead, we're going to use a wonderful resource, which is called start.spring.io. If anyone have ever heard any talk by our good friend Josh Long, you know that start.spring.io, this is where you go when you want to start your project. And this project is no exception. We're going to use Gradle, we're going to use Java, Spring Boot, and a web for dependencies because we're going to create a web service that we will deploy to Kubernetes and then want to run it. Group ID and artifact don't really matter. We're going to generate this project and save it on my computer. Now, once it's done, we can go ahead and copy it to my workspace. So we're going to do copy desktop demo. What's going on? Not desktop, sorry. Downloads, demo 2. Here we go. 2 projects demo. Yeah. CP-R. And
you gotta quote the.
Yeah, I need to quote the space. Okay. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. Demo 2 into my projects. Where are my projects? Here we go. Okay. Should be good now. Demo. All right. I'm inside my project. So now let's see what we do have there. So I have my editor here. And what we have here, it's like a standard project. There is, no, this file does not exist. Wait a second, here we go. There is a build.gradle here. The repositories are a little bit off. We need to fix that. But other than that, it's a valid build.gradle. There is nothing more here. There is the sources and everything else. So what we are going to do is we are going to create here a build file that we are going to use Travis for our continuous integration. It can be any CI server. We're going to use Travis just because it is nice and we love it. So travis.yaml, and in my travis.yaml, what we need is one simple instruction, and this simple instruction is language Java. Right, so that's all we need. We say that Travis needs to build a Java project. It will discover that it is actually a Gradle project, and we'll run our Gradle build, and we expect everything to work just great. So let's add it to our GitHub. Commit. And we need to add our GitHub URL, and this is this guy. No, that's not this guy. This is this guy. Git remote add origin. Here we go. Git push. Okay, so this is pushed, and now we can go to Travis and enable the build for this project. So we will sync GitHub, so it will show it now. Here, demo, I flip the switch, and now I can actually go to it and trigger a build. Okay, so the build started, and it should actually just build it. There is nothing, absolutely nothing interesting in this build. It just built Gradle project, does nothing with the results, take the dependencies from a public repository from JCenter, you can see it here, and just builds the build. So while this is done, and here we're just checking that our source is right, but we know it's right, we can actually start working on adding Artifactory into our project. For this, I'm strongly recommending using JFrog CLI. It makes much more easier to work with JFrog products in general, and as Artifactory in particular. So I will run brew install and install it if it's not already installed. In the meanwhile, we can see that our build number 1 was actually successful. We're all good. We should see it here as well. No, we don't. Why don't we see it here? Okay, it will appear soon. JFrog CLI is installing. Let's see now. Here we go. Kiss the Frog demo number 1. That's our job, and we are ready to add Artifactory into it. This guy is still updating Homebrew. Okay, Artifactory JFrog CLI is installed, and now we can configure my local JFrog CLI to work with our Artifactory server. So JFrog Artifactory config, the name of the server is going to be K.I.S.S, and the URL is my Artifactory server on Google Cloud Platform. It will ask for the user is admin. It will ask for a password. To get the password, to get the encrypted password, and that's the only type of password you want to use, we are going to go to keys.jfrog.io and get the encrypted password out of it. So let's log in. It will be this password, and now I can go to my, you see that's brand new Artifactory server. We start everything from scratch. 0 artifacts. I just started the trial and got this Artifactory. Completely brand new. Unlock it, and here I have my encrypted password. I'm going to copy it and actually use it here in the terminal. I encrypted the password, everything's good. My JFrog CLI is ready to work with my Artifactory online. Now I'm going to run a command that will generate what we call a Gradle Spec. Now, a Gradle Spec is a special YAML file that JFrog CLI will use to construct a Gradle init, which is kind of an interceptor of Gradle build. This interceptor will instruct Gradle to work with Artifactory, to resolve the dependencies from Artifactory, and to download and to upload the artifacts and the build info back to Artifactory. So I want to generate this Gradle spec. Gradle Artifactory plugin is applied. No, we didn't have anything in our build. I want to use the Gradle wrapper. I want to resolve dependencies from Artifactory, and that will be K.I.S.S, the server that we started. The repositories, those are the default repositories that come with Artifactory, and it's good enough. I want to resolve from libs release, and I want to deploy artifact to Artifactory as well, and I want to deploy them to the K.I.S.S server to libs snapshot local. I don't need Maven descriptor, I don't need Ivy descriptor, and Gradle build successfully configured. What it actually did, it generated a new file, gradlespec.yaml, and it has the information that we actually just feed into our generator in a YAML format. That's exactly what it does. Again, remember, there is nothing changed in the build itself. I didn't add any plugins, I didn't change anything. The only thing we can do now is delete the repositories, because the resolution will come from our Gradle spec. Another thing that we need to do now, once we work with Artifactory, is, of course, authenticate with this Artifactory. For that, we need to provide a password. And if we're going to provide a clear text password into our build Gradle, we're going to commit it to a public GitHub repository, which, of course, I don't want to do. So instead of doing that, I'm going to use the encryption facilities of Travis. So I'm going to install Travis command line now. Gem install Travis will install Travis command line that I will use for the encryption. Sorry, it should be sudo in my case. Here we go. All right. And now I can run the Travis encrypt. Per Travis documentation, I do Travis encrypt, provide the environment variable that I want to encrypt, and the password. This was the password, and since it's recorded and live on YouTube, I really should change the password as soon as possible. Don't worry, I will do that. For now, let's encrypt this guy, and it actually will go directly to my Travis file. So let's look again. What changed now? I have my Travis YAML, and look at that. I have the environment variable right here. So now, once I have this, I can configure the rest of it. So of course, for Travis, as for my command line, I need to download and configure JFrog CLI. So I will, before install, I will download the executable, make it actually executable, and then run the same command of configuring this CLI to work with my Artifactory server. Once I did that, I will cancel the install stage. I don't need to run Gradle twice. I'm going to run it myself. And in the script stage, I'm going to run Gradle with our newly added Travis Gradle spec. So instead of running Gradle directly, I'm going to run Gradle through JFrog CLI. JFrog Artifactory Gradle. All I need is build and Artifactory publish. I'm going to use the Gradle spec that I provided here, and I'm going to provide build name and build number as a reference, because I want to deploy information about the build, and I want it to be referenced under this name as this number. I use obviously Travis environment variables, so they will change automatically and adapt for whatever we are doing. After doing that, I need to generate the build information and deploy it to Artifactory. So I'm going to collect the environment variables and add them to this build information. I'm going to add details about Git project, stuff like origin and the commit number, again, to the build name and build number. And I'm going to publish this build information right after Gradle project was succeeded with this build and build number. On top of that, let's start caching a little bit so the builds won't take so long. So I'm going to add caches for the Gradle wrapper, the runtime of Gradle itself, and for the caches directory of Gradle. And I think we can deploy, we can commit all that and actually commit everything, Artifactory added, and then push it and see what we did. Okay, so push was successful, and now going back to Travis, I can see that build number 2 was already started, and this is the build of Artifactory added. So let's see what changed. So first of all, we see here the export of our Artifactory key. This is good. And now we are going to run the build and eventually upload everything to the cache. So we start here. You can see this is our command. And look what's going on here. We are going to run Gradle with an init script. This init script is actually generated by JFrog command line based on the information we provided in our Gradle spec. So now Gradle is downloaded, we start the build, the plugins downloaded from bin tray, but you can see here that the dependencies for our project are actually downloaded now from our Artifactory and not from JCenter. And that's of course very good because now we can control them, we know what they are. We are independent on any external resources, can implement whitelisting policies, blacklisting policies, and what's not. Here they are. You see all the dependencies that were downloaded are now inside our Artifactory. So once the dependencies will be downloaded, we will start doing the stuff like here, compile Java. First time, it will be slower than the next times because first time Artifactory actually downloads everything from JCenter and caches. Next builds will be much faster because we will serve all the dependencies from our Artifactory instance. So while this build is running, let's prepare to the next step. Next step will be creating the Docker build. For Docker build, we need Docker registries configured in Artifactory, and we can do that very easily by using the quick setup. For quick setup, we're going to say we want Docker, and actually just hit the create button. Next thing we know, we have 4 different repositories created for using with Docker. The Docker local, and this is where we're going to deploy our Docker images. Docker remote, this proxy is Docker hub. Bintray Docker remote, these proxies Bintray public repositories, and Docker virtual that contains them all. Now, we actually do need another Docker remote that will proxy a Google Container Registry. So we're going to create a new remote repository. It will be of type Docker, and the repository key will be Docker Container Registry Docker Remote, and the URL will be gcr.io. We don't need token authentication. It is public. Save and finish. And the last thing we know here, the last thing we need to do is we need to edit it to a virtual repository. So in virtual, we have our Docker, which is an aggregation of all the different Docker registries, and we add our Docker remote right into it. So now we are ready to create the Docker addition to our build. In the meanwhile, let's see what's going on. So build number 2 was successfully completed, as we can see. And now let's see how it was deployed. So we have our build browser here in Artifactory, and look at that. Now we have the build name K.I.S.S/demo, and that's the name that Travis generated for our build. And the last build is number 2. That's actually the only build because if you remember, the first one wasn't deployed in Artifactory. From here, you can easily navigate back to Travis. So this link will take you to the Travis, back to the Travis build. And we can see that we published one module, and this is our Java module. It's generated one jar file, and that will be the eventual jar file that we are going to run in Kubernetes, and bunch of dependencies. Those were all the dependencies that it's used. As you can see here, they are all cached in Artifactory and easily navigatable. If you remember, we collected all the environment variable. So for example, if we want to know the Java version, we can ask, okay, Java version, here you go, Java 8 from Oracle. That's the Java version that was used in Travis during the build. So as we see, everything is good. And now we are ready for our next step. Our next step will be obviously creating a Docker file. So we're going to get back to our code and create a Docker file. Our Docker file will be extremely simple. All that we need is to take an amazing distroless base image, and distroless images are kind of a know-how of Google. They came with this idea that images don't need to have a base distribution, and because of that, they're very small and efficient. So one of them is a Java-based image, distroless Java-based image. We're going to copy the only jar file that we created from build libs, that's the output of Gradle, and call it app.jar, and then point it as an entry point for our Java application. So this is all. Please note that I download the distroless base image from our Artifactory. That because we are now proxying Google Container Registry, and we will have it in Artifactory as well. Everything is controlled from one place. Now, because we have everything in a single directory, we want to limit the context of our Gradle build, just because otherwise it will be too big. So we're going to create a .docker ignore file, and it will be ignore everything except what's in the outputs of Gradle, because this is where our jar file is. Now let's add this build to our Travis, to our build file. So for that, we need to do a couple of things. We need to log in into our Docker registry. So before install, we're going to log in into our Docker registry, which is my obviously Artifactory, and we are going to build the Docker build. So after Gradle has finished, we are going to build our Docker file. Again, the image label will be our Docker build and our Docker number. And we're going to add a dependency, declare a dependency to our build in our Java file. So what I'm saying here is this file that now is a dependency of our Docker image should be shown as a dependency in our build information as well. Once everything is good, now we can push this image into Artifactory. So we have JFrog RT, JFrog Artifactory, Docker push. push this image that was built as a result of Docker build into a repository registry named Docker in my Artifactory, and add it as an output under the same build name and build number. We concentrate all the metadata into this build information about everything. So once this is done, we can again go ahead and commit the stuff. We have 3 files changed and added Docker build. We are going to push that as well and check that we have a new build kicked in Travis. So let's see. Here we go. Edit Docker build, build number 3, and we can watch and see what's going on. It's going to start probably in a second. It's booting up. It will be maybe a little bit longer now because we added Docker. We're starting an instance again. Let's see if it works. Okay, so it eventually started. We can see here again that we have the caches now. Let's see if the caches were found. Okay, perfect. The caches were found. So that should be a really, really fast build because we already have all the dependencies. I hope it will use it instead of downloading a new. Well, looks like the caching didn't really work. Yeah, it's downloading everything new. The good news are this is now much faster because it's already cached in Artifactory. So as you can see, the downloads are much, much faster. I have no idea why the caching didn't work. Well, okay. We have our own caching, I guess. Yeah, you can see that it was compiled and built and everything. A small test is running. And here we deploy our jar file. And next, now we are building our Docker image. So it was built. We added the file as a dependency. And now we pushed all the images to, we pushed the image to Artifactory, all the layers, and did all the build info work. So build 3 is a success. Should be all green any second now. Any second now. Why it's not green? Done. Should be green. Ah, okay, here we go. And in Artifactory, we can see what's new. So if we're going to get the builds again, we now have 2 builds, number 2 and number 3. Now, number 3 is much more interesting because now it has multiple technologies blend in. So we have the same module that we had earlier, and that's just the simple build, jar build, but we also have our Docker demo 3, that's our Docker image. So we can see here that we deployed manifest and bunch of layers and used 4 layers, which are actually our base image from DistroLess, from a Google Google Container Registry Docker cache. We used this DistroLess for that. And we have our dependency that we declared, which kind of bridges between the two. And this is a dependency to our jar file. Now we can go and look at it. And we have here a builds tab that shows how this file was used. And we see something interesting. It was produced by K.I.S.S the Frog demo build number 3, but it was also used by K.I.S.S the Frog demo number 3, which actually makes sense because we build this jar file and then eventually we use the same jar file as a dependency down the road. So it is the same file that was produced in this build and used in this build. So I guess with that, my part for now is over. We have the Docker image, and now Ray will take us through the process of deploying this Docker image into Kubernetes, plug it into our continuous integration to actually deployment part, and we will see how that works. So Ray, to you.
Yeah. Very cool. Now, before I can actually access this image, Baruch, I actually need also the password to your Artifactory instance as well.
Yeah. So it didn't change since our Dryrun yesterday, but I will give it to you once again.
Okay,
in a very secure manner of pasting it into a host-only chat. No one will know.
No one, nobody.
No, that's a password manager for the pool. There you go.
Okay, very cool. So let me just make sure that's there, and then let me go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second. There we go, and screen sharing. Screen sharing. There we go. Share screen. My desktop, and sure. All right.
And we can see your screen. Yes.
Okay, very cool. So here I have a directory here, just temp, because this is a temporary thing. But first of all, I need to go ahead and just clone whatever that brew just created. There we go. I'm going to clone this demo repository. I believe that we already have the Docker image, right? So why don't we just go ahead and try to deploy this into a Kubernetes cluster first? I already have a Kubernetes cluster created in Google Cloud Platform, and that is actually right here. Now, there are a number of ways for us to connect to it, but I really use gcloud command line to get the credentials. And what that means is that I can just use kubectl. I can hopefully see what's inside this cluster, this Kubernetes cluster, and there's nothing right now. Let me just double check if I have anything from in the past. No, there's no deployments, no pods, no services. So
again, as we do everything, it's like it's brand new. Nothing was existed. We do everything in new. No cheating here.
Yeah, not quite. So I need to just deploy this container, and I believe we have the name of the container. That is this one right now, right? That's the container name that was just created by Travis. Okay, very cool. What I do need to do is to create a YAML file. One of the reasons to do this is because I also need to add credentials in order to connect to Artifactory registry via a Docker registry secret. Now, there are a number of ways for me to create this YAML file. I'm going to do some cheating here. What I'm going to do is to use the kubectl run command, right? And what this will do is to basically allow me to run any container image inside of Kubernetes, right? So I'm going to say the image is the K.I.S.S Docker JFrog IO demo attack 3. Now, usually if I do it this way, it's actually going to connect to the Kubernetes cluster and just run it. But I don't want to do that. What I really want is to get the YAML file. Now, rather than writing everything manually, I can just add this primary Dryrun, which means don't actually deploy it. And I want to output everything as a YAML format, in which case I can just output this into a deployment descriptor if I want to, and that's it. And in this deployment descriptor, I can do some cleanup if I want to. I can add more things, etc., etc. But as you can see here, we actually generate this whole thing. One thing I do want to add is what we call the image pool secrets. And this is the secret that we actually need to create that contains the Artifactory connection information. So basically the username and the password. I haven't created this yet, but I'm going to create it in a second. Why don't I call this the Artifactory registry? That's probably easy. So this secret will contain the credentials to connect to Artifactory, but I don't have it yet. So what am I going to do? Well, I can actually go ahead and create a secret. And the way to do that is, again, there's a little utility here in kubectl. I can just say kubectl create secret. What kind of secret is it? It's a Docker registry secret. I can give it a name, which is Artifactory registry. And then I do need to give it a few more information. So for example, I need to give it the name I want to log in with, the email address that's associated with this. But this email is actually not important. We just need to give it something. And then the Docker server is gonna be, I believe, K.I.S.S Docker JFrog.io. And then finally, we need the Docker password. And that is the one that Baruch supposedly has sent to me. I put it into environmental variable so that we can see it. So we can just refer to it. So I think it's called Artifactory password. Hopefully I got this properly. Okay. So with the registry secret created, with the deployment created, I should be able to just go ahead and deploy this application. Okay. Very cool. Oh, what did I do here? Oh, sorry. I did make this mistake before. So the image pool secret here is actually a map. So I need to give it the name of the secret, not just a list of strings. So let me try this again. Do the apply, and there we go. So if I got everything up, configured properly, it should be able to get a secret, connect to Artifactory, download the containers, and deploy it into my Kubernetes cluster. And that's pretty good. It actually worked the first try. That's pretty amazing, or the second try, technically.
That's fine. We'll pretend it was the first one. That's okay.
Thanks. I'm going to update the replicas to 4, and I'm going to apply that as well. So I'm going to do another kubectl apply. Now, of course, you don't want to do this manually, right? You don't want to do this manually in a CI pipeline, right? Yeah, so we're going to automate this process in a second. Now, the second thing I want to create is a service. I want this application to be publicly accessible. Typically, the way I do it is I'm going to use the kubectl expose command. So what this will do is to expose a deployment as a service. But rather than exposing the deployment as a service from Kubernetes, like what's running there, I'm going to base this on the file. So it's going to examine the deployment file that we just created and then extrapolate what the service should be. And I want to have a public IP address. So I'm going to set the type to load balancer. And then I need to set the ports so that this load balancer is going to listen on port 8080. And it's going to forward the request to the container port 8080 as well. And as usual, we're going to save this into a file. So I'm going to do a dry run with the OYAML. I'm going to put this into the service here. Okay. Oh, what is that? Oh, yeah, I think I pasted something wrong here. There we go. And I can just go ahead and apply this application service. And what this will do is to create a service that will eventually provision a real load balancer on Google Cloud, where I get an external IP address that will be fronting the 4 instances that I just deployed. Okay, so that's basically what we want to automate. Okay, so let me just go ahead and add all of these things into my GitHub repository here. Now let's automate it. What do I need to do? Well, first of all, I'm going to open up the Travis YAML file. As you can see, there's a number of things here that Baruch already put in. We do need to somehow get the kubectl command line. We need to get the credentials as well. Now, there are a number of ways to do it. If you are in like an on-prem installation where you only have like a kube config file, you might need to like extrapolate what's inside and just securely store that in your repository. But what we're going to do instead is that we're going to fetch a credential from Google Cloud with a service account so that this credential is, first of all, ephemeral. And secondly, it's controlled by a service account. So if for whatever reasons that the service account was compromised, I can just go ahead and delete it so that nobody else can get access to our cluster. Okay. So first of all, what we're going to do is to actually install gcloud, because I need to use the gcloud command line to basically fetch the service account. Now, there are a couple of ways to do it, but to make it simple, I do have a little snippet here. What we're going to do is to curl the installation URL here and just install the gcloud into our Travis environment. But we only want to do this if it's not previously installed. So to do that, we're going to cache it as well. So hopefully this cache will actually work. So basically, if this is already downloaded, already cached, let's not like re-download this again. So I'm going to add this cache into the cache directories on the top here as well. So here we have a list of cache directories. I'm going to cache the Google Cloud SDK directory, and that is where we're going to install this application for this command line utility. Once I have the Google Cloud utility, the gcloud command line, I need to source in the bash source so that I can get some exports and path into my environment. I'm going to install Kubernetes directly from gcloud component install. I need to, for example, set the name of the project as well. Now, the thing about this is that every time you code gcloud, there could be a chance that it's going to ask you, are you sure this is what you want to do? Of course, in Travis, there's nobody to answer. So what we need to actually do is to just say, we need to export a little environmental variable here to say disable prompts. What this is going to do is to just say yes to everything, or use the default value for everything, so that all of these commands don't just ask you questions over and over again, right? And then finally, the way that we can fetch this credential is by using just gcloud container cluster get credential, referencing the cluster that I'm going to use that's within the project with a certain zone that this cluster is physically located in. Now, the last piece of puzzle here is that before anything of these things will work, is that we actually need a service account. And a service account is something that we can just go and generate. So I'm going to switch over to the browser. This is the Google Cloud Console where we see the cluster. What I'm going to do is go into the IAM console here and create this service account. Basically, this is designed for application consumptions, for CI/CD pipelines, for anything that's not human operated. So I'm going to go ahead and create a service account. I'm going to call it the Travis CI/CD. Okay. As you can see, it'll generate like a service account ID, and also it's a fully qualified. It's almost like an email address, right? And that is the name of the service account. I can also restrict access to this service account, so that rather than giving the access to all of the project with the owner permissions, I'm just gonna give it the smallest permission I can possibly give. In this case, I'm gonna give it the Kubernetes engine developer. What this will do is allow the service account to establish connection to my Kubernetes cluster and do some deployments and a few other things. But the idea of the service account will be propagated into Kubernetes RBAC as well. So you can further narrow down RBAC if you want to further restrict what this service account can do.
So, and this is a beautiful way around this discussion of yes synthetic users, no synthetic users. You can embrace the idea and take it to a new level with this service account concept.
Yeah. And with this service account created with the permission assigned, then we can just generate a new private key. And this key, this is the credential that you have to keep secure. Like you don't want anybody to get a hold of it. I'm just going to go ahead and just download it here. I'm going to say Travis CI/CD. I'm going to put it on my desktop right here. Okay. So let me just go ahead and go back to my console here. So I have the service account. So let me go back into the demo repository here. And I'm going to just create a little directory called keys. And I'm going to just copy the service account into here. So that went to my desktop. And here's the Travis CI/CD JSON. I'm going to copy it here. Now, the last thing I want to do is to commit this service account file into any public repository or any repository at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and be safe. I'm going to put keys under this git ignore so that I don't end up checking anything. Okay. Now I do need to be able to reference to this service account. So what I'm going to do is to use the Travis. Oh, let me just go ahead and save the file and quit. What I'm going to do is to use Travis. I'm going to do encrypt file. Which file am I going to encrypt? The Travis CI/CD. And I'm also going to add the decryption mechanism directly back into the file. And hopefully this is going to work. This is going to say the repository is demo. Securing storing. What is that? Couldn't find repository. Why was that?
I think you are inside keys or something. No.
No. But
no.
Oh, that's interesting. Could I not Travis encrypt? Well, let me move the key out. Maybe that may be a little different. So I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. So encrypt file, right? And then this is the file I want to encrypt and want to add it to my file. Why?
Yes.
Oh, wait a second.
It actually did it. It's just,
did it actually did it previously? Well, let's double check. So let's just do a double check here. I don't know if it actually did it or not. You know what? Did it do it?
It might not. It might only encrypt the file, but didn't add it to Travis YAML.
I
think that what happened. So let's try it again.
Yeah. Okay. So let's try this again. I'm not quite sure why. Oh no. Well, there's no backup here, so we kind of need to make it work.
It's all live. No, we have to make it work.
Well, let's see here. So I want to override this file.
Yes.
Well,
all right.
Sorry here. Let me try this again. I'm going to override this. I say yes. And resource could not be found. Couldn't find repository. I'm not quite sure why that's the case.
This is weird.
Yeah.
Let's Google it. You know, Travis.
I actually never seen this error before.
Me too. Couldn't find a repository. This is really weird.
Yeah. Do I need to do like a little refresh on my Travis side and just to make sure that this is all synced up?
Okay, so there is a bug about it, but it probably it's not a real one. So let's see how they fixed it, how they reply to whoever opened this bug.
Yeah. So I'm gonna repeat until it succeeds, right? It's eventually.
Yeah. No, this is great. I mean, what they actually say is that you don't. What it means is that it cannot get outside to Travis.
Yeah. Okay. I think what I did is that I just went ahead and refreshed.
Okay. Try and try Travis endpoint. To see what the endpoint is. I don't know.
There we go. Let's try this. Oh, yeah. Actually,
okay. Go.
What I did was on another screen, I had to resynchronize my account because I was not updated into my Travis.
Right. You didn't have the new repo, obviously, because I just added it previously, and you didn't do any builds yet.
I didn't do any builds. I didn't do any sync. Yeah. All right. So mystery solved. Right. So hopefully this will actually will work eventually. So I'm gonna go back to my Travis here. Let me see if they actually added the decryption mechanism here. So on the top here, there it is. So it's going to decrypt the JSON file from the encrypted version into the decrypted version, right? And then the final pieces of the puzzle here is that I need to actually let gcloud know I need to use this service account. And the way I can do it is by use alt activate service account, right? So what I can do is something like that. And then I need to refer to the name of this file. Let me go up to here. What is the name of the file? It's called CI/CD JSON, right? So let me just go back and put the JSON file here. So what we've just done is to download gcloud, install kubectl, configure gcloud with the service account that I want to use, grab the credential for my cluster, and then finally, after all of these things, we can just use the potentially kubectl command line to set the image on a existing deployment, or in my case, I want to base it off of the file because the file may change, my deployment might change. So I'm going to base this off of the file. And within this file, all I want to do is to change the sample app container. I want to change the image name into the one that was just built. And that's really it. Now, in a GitOps scenario, though, what you really want to do is to update the YAML file, commit that, and then have a secondary pipeline to do this deployment for you. But we're going to keep it simple for now and just hopefully do all of these things in one shot. Now, I should have a few things here. I need to just commit everything, make sure I have no encrypted JSON file here. I'm going to do another push origin to push everything up to the repository. And we will see how this works. Whew. Now, Baruch, how much time did we spend here? What's going on? What are you already eating? Am I being too slow on my side?
No, I think they might be bringing it now, and
really,
they're running late.
Yeah.
They're running late. So Irene here. Yeah, no, I think we're like, are we done? I mean, if that works, we're done, right?
Yeah, if that works, sure. But we gotta make sure it works.
Right.
Yeah. So let's see here.
Here we go. Here's the pizza. Here's the pizza. Where's the
really?
Yeah, Irene, you got it. Here you go. You can see it here. We got some pizzas.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And yeah. So if it works, we actually beat it by a second. I mean, that's...
Oh my God. You know what? There's one thing I forgot to do. So I pushed it without committing the latest changes. So my bad. Oh my God. Updated with Kubernetes CI/CD.
close.
Oh, so here we go. Let me do this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah. I was like, where's the job? Am I waiting for it? Where's the job? Oh man.
Oh, so close. So close.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty close though.
We'll call it a tie. We'll call it a tie.
Call it tie. Yeah. We did miss that little push. Yeah, there it is. Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. All right. All right. Okay.
Can we see the build status?
Yeah. Just click on 4. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So now we're actually just waiting for the Travis to provision our build, and we will see if this actually works. Yay! How's the pizza, by the way?
Huh?
How's the pizza?
I don't know. I didn't try yet. Once we're done here, we're going to have like pizza party today here in the office.
Oh, what about me?
For everybody. I invited you to come here and do it in person. You refused. I guess no pizza for you. By the way, you told me they cannot bring it to your office, but you're at home one. Why you didn't order pizza with us?
Yeah, I so I decided to take it from home because I couldn't find a meeting room.
That's that's the growth. That's the pains of growth.
Yeah. So here we go. So we're doing the build. There we go. This is actually downloading the G-Cloud SDK. Finally, it took a little time to get this build machine provisioned, I suppose. Yeah. So here we are downloading the SDK. Oh wow, we're installing a lot of things here. Just all the files has been unpacked. Okay, and it's gonna go ahead and install the kubectl command line, which it has done. And because we set the prompt to no, so it didn't ask questions like, "Are you really sure you want to install kubectl?" or anything like that, right? And then we set the default project. Here, this line right here, we activated the server's account, and then here we grab the credentials from the cluster from our Google Cloud project. Okay. And then we're going to go through the build process, which seems to be pretty fast. Yeah, so I guess the cache did work. Nice. Doing the push to the containers. There we go. That's the push right there. And while this is doing it, what I'm going to do is just do a watch kubectl get pods. Now, what should be happening here is that it should go ahead and just run the deployment with the new image that we decided to deploy. Now, I did notice that we may have put in the wrong image name, which I think I did. If that's the case, I can go back and just go ahead and fix it in my Travis pipeline. So I think one of the mistakes I made here is that the name of the image is actually not simple app, and I need
it is not. It is not.
Yeah. So what was that? It should be Travis this environment variable, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, now gladly that we do have a CI/CD pipeline, I'm gonna go ahead and just commit this again. Do a commit, updated the image name, and I'm gonna go ahead and do another push to the origin, and hopefully this will kick off another build, and then it's going to build the container again, and then we'll go ahead and deploy the right image. Okay, pretty awesome. Not too bad.
Let's hope. Let's see.
All right. So you can clearly see that there is a image pull back off here. That's because the name of the image does not actually exist, right? So there's an easy way to undo this, right? So in case you are actually made a mistake in terms of doing a deployment that you didn't mean to, what we can do is to just get the name of the deployment, get deployment here. And what I'm going to do is just do a quick rollback here. So I'm going to do a kubectl rollout, undo deployment, and the name of the deployment I'm trying to use. And what this will do is to just roll everything back into the previous version of the application. And if I say kubectl get pod again, I can see the new versions that we're trying to deploy is gone because it failed. But now we just go back to the previous version and we just wait for the pipeline to finish up with the new.
And the previous version was the one that you tried locally. Very nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we know that this one worked. The previous version definitely worked. Okay.
Okay, so in a meanwhile, and we are going to get back to the builds once it's finished, I wanted to share something else with you, and that's if you remember, we were talking about in our kind of a plan of making sure that we don't have any vulnerable artifacts or anything like that. So let me show you real quick how X-ray fit into the picture. So I have here X-ray again, brand new, and that's the part of the same trial that I initiated when I got my Artifactory online, and it's already connected out of the box with my Artifactory server right here. All I need to do now is to add the repositories that I want to scan, and there are actually two. You know what? Only one. I only have Docker local. This is where our product is. This is where our Docker image. So I will add Docker local here and save. Let's see now. I need to have one repository selected, right? Docker local. Where do I select repositories? Here, configure indexed repositories. I only want Docker local here. That's the only repository that I need. Save. And I also want to configure some builds. The builds are okay. Right, so I save this one. And now I'm going to configure a policy. And I'm going to say here, I want to find all vulnerabilities. That will be my policy, and the rule will be all vulnerabilities with any severities and everything. So I'm going to add this rule and save this policy. And now I want to watch. Now I want to watch all the files, I'll call it again, file all vulnerabilities, and I want to watch every artifact that I have scanned, and I want to find any vulnerability that I have in this file. And now, if everything is working correctly, I can see our artifacts right here and check them for vulnerabilities. Oh, here we go, 24 artifacts. And those are all the dependencies. Now, I actually only added Docker images, but I got the result of all the vulnerabilities out of them. And if I'm only want Docker here, I will be able to see only Docker and drill down from there. I didn't scan it yet because they're big, so it will take it a second. So anyway, this is how out of the box we can add our violations and vulnerabilities. There are no violations, which is good. You can see that all the packages are normal, no vulnerabilities found. Back to you, Ray. Let's see how our build is going.
Okay.
Yep, you go ahead and steal the share.
Okay, I'm gonna share the screen again. Let's see here. Go back to that one. All right.
Build number 5 is successful.
Yeah, so this one actually succeeded. Now we missed a little blip here where it actually did the rolling update for me. But if I were to say kubectl get describe, let me just get the name of deployment here. If I were to say just describe this deployment, describe deployment with a simple app. If I scroll up a little bit, what I will see is the actual image that was deployed, and that's K.I.S.S Docker JFrog with the demo tag number 5. And that was actually gotten it from here. And we were finished with 5. So that actually did work. Yay. Whew. That was pretty close. Yeah. Just a little, typo there with the name of the repository. Yeah.
But we were close. We were close. Yeah. All right. So once we are done with that, let me go to the last slide of our presentation. I'm going to steal your share again here. Yeah. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A panel to put them here. We are a little bit behind, but we will take time to answer the questions that you have. While you are doing that, let me share a small poll with you to kind of a survey to hear. Did you like what you actually saw? And in the meanwhile, while you are doing that, let me go with you through some helpful links. So you go to jfrog.com to actually get Artifactory and X-Ray, all of them obviously available in free trials. We are highly recommending to start them online on Google Cloud Platform, just because it's obviously less overhead, less management. We, JFrog and Google, are taking care of everything. You just use it. Very, very convenient. Google Cloud Platform Kubernetes Engine is available on cloud.google.com/Kubernetes Engine. YouTube.com/user/artifrog is the JFrog YouTube channel where the recording of this webinar will be available right after we are done. It's actually streaming there live. And my good friend Ray Tsang is on Twitter at Saturnism. Follow him immediately, as I already mentioned. And me, myself, I'm at jbaruch on Twitter. Ray, I don't see any questions here, so I guess we are done. And I have a lot of pizza to eat.
Well, I'm quite jealous here. I guess I have to cook myself some lunch here.
you go ahead and enjoy that. Thank you very, very much for doing that with me. That was a lot of fun. And I see you and the audience in our future joint talks, webinars, and a lot of stuff that we're doing together. So thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Cheers.